As we know, the Plains Indians used all parts of any animal that we harvested, hunted, or found. The buffalo being one of the most important. Because it's such a large animal, it has many uses. The insides, the outsides. What you have before you is a buffalo bladder, or our water carrying, like a bucket or a cup. In the olden days, we didn't have plastics. We had ceramics and stone, but they were much too heavy to be used effectively. So we would substitute this by using the bladder or any of the inside organs that held liquids of the buffalo. Now, when using the bladder, it's important that you keep it filled or you dry it. Otherwise, the bladder will not last very long. It is a perishable item otherwise. You either keep it filled or empty it and dry it. But the bladder was harvested from the buffalo after a hunt. It was cleaned, washed. Part was cut off the top of it. They would go down to the creeks near the willows, and they would trim some willows and make a hoop. Once that hoop was made, they would bind it with the sinews of a buffalo, or tendons. Once that was dried, and it would not come apart, the skin of the bladder would be stretched over this hoop to make a rim for the cup or for your bucket. Once that was done, they would poke holes in the membrane of the bladder and they would sew it to the rim so it would not come apart. Then they would sew a little piece of wood on top as a handle or a bail. That way it could be hung in the lodge or carried to and fro from the streams. So the bladder was a very important part in tribal life because we all drink water every day. It was one of the many things the woman did each morning, multiple times through the day, but my father can speak more on that.
The buffalo bladder was very important. It was the young girls would go to the creek go to the rivers, the streams, and many of them were great distances because Indian camps, they could never camp near a stream because of the spirits. It wasn't a camping area, so many of them had to carry at great distances. And the young girls of courting age would carry these bladders to the streams, and the young men would stand on the side, hoping that she would stop and talk with them. The girls all went to the rivers and brought their water back, and many times the women had to, this bladder was a good way of curing them of certain things. For instance, when a woman had her first child, a lot of times they didn't want to turn the baby loose or let someone else hold it. They cried quite a lot, and so they gave them a tea made out of milk medicine. This weed was called skeleton weed, and it makes you very thirsty. This tea was given to the girl as a medicine so that she could produce more milk and have a healthier child. In the meantime, it made her very thirsty, and she drank up all the water in a lodge, and then she had to hand her baby to either her mother or grandmother while she went after water. It was customary when you drank the last part, you carried it, you went after it yourself. The bladder was very important that way, and because it was, like it was mentioned, it was the only vessel that was usable, was light, and the people had great joy during this time because usually it was in the spring and summer months when buffalo were abundant. They every time they harvested buffalo, the camp was filled with joy. The children, the women, everyone was busy thinking of ways to use all the parts of the buffalo. The Cheyenne is one of the tribes that used every part of the buffalo. And this bladder was just one of the parts that reminded them of the usefulness of the buffalo.